quick story into how I got my housing place. Quick story into how I got my housing. I was living in Wollongong about 6 years ago. It's 2025. It was about 6 years ago, so about 2019. And I was living in Wollongong. And basically the whole situation kicked off and I set myself up into their registry in Coniston. And I applied into the Snowy Mountains. And because it had the lowest wait list. Snowy Mountains only had 5 years back then. 5 or 6 years. So I thought, yeah, I'll go Snowy Mountains. So I caught the bus down there, as I do, homeless, living in a swag on the street. And I rocked up to the real estate and I'm like, I can get a bond loan application off the housing department and pretty much turn around and be able to start up an apartment. And I moved into an apartment and from that, I was in there for about 5, 6 years. About 5, 6 years went by and the housing department called me up and said, hey mate, we can offer you a place in Cooma. And I'm like, where's the place? And they gave me the address and I'm like, nah, I don't want it, I'm not even going to go and look at it. It's not worth my time. And pretty much turned around and I said, maybe I should have taken it because I was seeing this other girl back then. And I said it to her, maybe I should have took it, and we weren't living together or anything, nothing that serious. It was serious, but nothing that, we weren't living together. And basically turned around and rental crisis, as the rent kept going up and Snowy 2.0 kicked off. And Snowy 2.0 kicking off, the rent kept going up. And then rental crisis on top of it, just like as inflation kicked off, it started climbing even more. And I'm like, oh no. So I got to a stage where I was paying $330 a week rent, like $660 a fortnight. And I'm like, holy shit, $660 a fortnight with $40 into the electricity, straight $700. And then on top of it, I had to put food on the table. So there's like $50 a week for food. So that's like $800. And then I'm like, Jesus, I need petrol money. So that's like, I only worked at the local shop. I didn't really do too much. I'm like $50 for that. So there's like $850. And then I turn around from that and I'm like, geez, I smoked the durries. Like I smoke cigarettes. So I'm like, I'll buy smokes. And then smoke started going up in price. Smoke started going up in price, mind you. And I'm like, holy shit, how am I going to fucking manage this, right? And I'm just like fucking, oi, here, take that. And I'm like, how am I going to afford the cigarettes? So I'm like, fuck. So it left me with about, I was paying, and I pay off fines as well. I was paying off $50 a fortnight. So that put me to $900, paying $50 a fortnight on my fines, because I'm only on the DSP. And I turn around and I'm like, fuck. I only had about $200 left a fortnight. So I'm like, smokes like these days are about $32 a packet of 20s. So I like really cut back on the smoking and stuff like that. Really cut back on the smoking as best I could, cut back on the smoking and everything like that. But see the rental, and by the time that happened, I couldn't afford to live there anymore. what happened was my girlfriend at the time, and the girl I was seeing that I was talking about, she broke up with me, and I'm like, oh, mate, she's pulled the plug. And, like, we were engaged in the way of it. Like, I put a bit of a connection with her, so I thought I'd go all the way, but it didn't work out like that. So I turned around and, like 3 days after she broke up with me, the real estate put a letter in my letterbox and said they're terminating the lease because they want to renovate the property where they put aircon and new carpets or paint the place and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, fuck. So I didn't know what to do, so I just abandoned ship. What I did was I packed me car like I was going on a camping trip, like a weekend away with the boys, where I took all me clothes and me camping stuff, packed me car solid, and I drove up to Sydney. I pretty much left all my furniture behind, and I'm like abandoned ship. I'm like, as much as I could understand it, like Schindler's List. If you understand Schindler's List, how they collect up all the possessions and then hoard it off, like that's what I saw it as. A bunch of dirty cunts like Schindler's List trying to fuck with me, but if you understand like how the Germans invaded the Jews and ripped off all their stuff out of their mansions and everything like that as they were taking them to the slaughter. And then turn around from that and I moved up to Sydney, and I was in the Sutherland Shire where I am now, in the Southo Shire. In Southo, pretty much, hanging around Southo. And I was fucking around, and I ended up getting stung, and the health department got onto me, because the thing is I suffer the mental health, as I said, and mental health got onto me, and I had to go in there to fix up medications because I got off it because I sea changed from Snow Mountains to Southo. And I'm like, get up here, and I'm like, sort my medication out. But because I didn't have nowhere to live, I ended up stuck in the psychiatric ward in Southo, in the mental health unit downstairs on the way out the back door to where rehab and all that is. And like the Killarney unit just across from that, and I'm like, geez. So I got stuck there for a while. I'm like, oh well, I'll see what I can't do. So I ended up saving up about $8,000 because I was in there for like 12 weeks. And 12 weeks I got a Centrelink loan just as I was leaving, and I moved into a property over in Summer Hill because in the ward there, this girl named Kelly from the housing, Wesley Mission, Sutherland Shire, Southo, in that Kelly from Southo Wesley Mission turned around and said, I got a group home over at Summer Hill I can put you in. You interested? And I'm like, yeah, let's rock and roll. Let's go. Because what happened was, before that, I'd organised to go to private rent. And to organise to go to private rent over at San Susie, but they kept me in the unit. They wouldn't let me leave one day, and I'm like, what's going on? I got to go for a house inspection to go and like talk to this guy and like work my way in there to pay rent and everything like that. They're like, no, you can't go. And I'm like, okay. So that's how I ended up stuck in there for so long, because that was right at the start. Turn around from that, and I was like, okay, so I'm in Summer Hill, and I live in Summer Hill for about 5 months, and Housing Register turned around and rang me up and said, we've got an offer for you over in Sylvania, Sutherland Shire. And I'm like, oh, fucking ace. So like rock and roll, in a good situation of it, rock and roll to Sylvania, and I'm like, here I am now, living actual life in Sylvania, having a great time. Like, not going to bring you like into the actual place to show you the place properly, like from the outside, because I get a bit nervous about flash photography and paparazzi. But you know what I mean? I moved and I like got my own 2-bedroom apartment, which I showed in the Essentials program, into pretty much how I've been living now. For 12 months, I've been living the Essentials program I put together. Now, I put the Essentials program back together when I was in the Snowy Mountains, and I seem to be doing pretty good from it. I've pretty much paid off, well, by the end of this month, two more payments. I got $100 left on my fines, and that was pretty large fine. I got a 45 plus in the car. I was mucking around in the car and driving like a rat bag, and I got a 45 plus through the Captain Cook speed camera down at Shark Park, coming out of the city one day with these other guys we were driving along. And anyway, paid all that off now, and that was just as I got put. So it's been about 1.5 years, and I paid it all off. I've done pretty good on that. And I know it sounds a bit stupid to be like, why don't you just get up and break your back and all that, but certain disabilities and things get in the way, and I get a bit sidetracked, and usually I don't last too long at a job and all that stuff. So like I said, I like to be inventive, like entrepreneurial and all that. Makes it a lot easier in the way of an entrepreneurial. So I turn around from telling you now how I got into my place here, how I got my unit, and say 12 minutes for a quick upload into my personal file for if anyone ever scouts it. I'm Jacques Marceau. I say Jacques Marceau. Jacques Marceau. I say nickname's Jacko, but Jacques is my real name. Jacko is what everyone was calling me, but Jacques is my real name. And yeah, it comes into it to how I got my unit and all that. But anyway, things are pretty tough for everybody, but that's how I got my unit. To say why, I tell you why I got my unit and how it happened. It doesn't happen overnight. Like in the voyage of it, like I said, 6 years is 6 years. It's still pretty quick. Like you look on the housing register list here in the Sutherland Shire, it's like a 25 plus year wait for average people to get their own place. It takes special circumstances to get in the door. Like I said, but if you don't get in the door straight away, don't fail to turn around and argue your point. Like if you're in a situation that you turn around in your situation and you can't live where you live and all that stuff, there's plenty of ways to help you out, especially with the way of life itself. Like with all the actual companies and everything like that. But yeah, before this, while I was in the Snowy Mountains, I was part-time as a cleaner, which was the only thing that helped me. I got about $110 a week, maybe. 110, I think it was either 110 or 108. I think I just rounded it. So it was like $110 a week, which I was pushing into the Centrelink, which didn't really affect it and all that stuff too much. It was all on the books and tax and everything like that, but it was pretty cool. Anyway, Jacques Marceau to how I got my place and what goes on and all that stuff. Anyway, cheers.